been struggling with timing completely up here in commentary for the last 2 races, so apologies in advance for any errors that are being made as we go through. We're lining up now for the AC40 Pro category with Casey Gorman on pole position, the current championship leader Ross Maguire alongside on P2. The second row of the grid is Johnny Garnes and Dylan Mellor. Third row of the grid due to be Owen Mellor and Ollie Walker. Settling down then, and the riders will look to the lights. In terms of the points, Evan Belford qualified all the way back in 8th position. He's the closest to Ross Maguire, who's the current championship leader, who sits on P2. Not a good start there from Maguire. It was a faster one from Garnes, who gets to the first turn first, but Casey O'Gorman then cuts through on the inside. So it's O'Gorman who is up front and leading the way as they come into the infield section and immediately dropping the riders in second and third positions as Casey O'Gorman blasts clear out in front. Second and third, a separate battle on, and then the rest of the riders streaming through. We'll see how quickly Evan Belford can make some progress from further down the order. At the moment, first, second and third positions are pretty closely packed, second and third in particular. O'Gorman, the early race leader. As they come into complete lap number 1 then, looks to me as though we've still got Casey O'Gorman up in front, Johnny Garnes in second position, and Ross Maguire is the rider who, as I said, lost out off the line. He sits in third position. Owen Mellor it is in fourth position. I did think that Evan Belford had made some progress up from P8 on the grid to fifth position at the end of the opening lap. And Eddie O'Shea is tucked in behind him in P6. Dylan Mellor was the rider to lose out in all of that scrapping on lap number 1, and the fastest rider round was Evan Belford, making that progress from P8 to P5. Johnny Garnes got away very, very well off the second row of the grid to get the better of Ross Maguire, and the current championship leader is down in third position. There's a gap behind him to P4, Owen Mellor, with Evan Belford right on his tail, and in fact Evan Belford may have even made the break here as they come back towards our commentary position once again. It's Casey O'Gorman in front. Ross Maguire has recaptured second position ahead of Johnny Garnes. Evan Belford made that move, as I said, on Owen Mellor to take fourth position. Eddie O'Shea still in sixth place, watching on as the others filter through those left-right sections that the riders were challenged by yesterday in open practice. Each time I spoke to a rider down in the paddock, all they were talking about was the flip-flop. That's given me plenty of cause for amusement as this weekend has gone on. The 2 chicanes, firstly coming off that long sweeping left-hander at the start of the lap, and then you go straight from that into a really short straight and then another left-right. Casey O'Gorman breaking clear. Ross Maguire has done well to recapture second position and is immediately reeled in O'Gorman out in front, so it's getting close for first and second positions. Meanwhile, watch for fourth position Evan Belford, who is under all sorts of pressure from Owen Mellor, Eddie O'Shea and Dylan Mellor in seventh position. So that's a group of 4 riders going together. The battle up front is close, less than half a second, with Ross Maguire gaining a 10th of a second on that last lap, with a new fastest lap of the race to sit within half a second of the race leader, and a separate race then involving 4 riders from 4th down to 7th positions. Evan Belford, Owen Mellor, Eddie O'Shea and Dylan Mellor rounding out the top 7 at the moment as they come round that long left-hander at the top of the circuit and into what they call the S's here at Red Lodge, and it's Belford at the moment leading them ahead of Mellor, O'Shea and Dylan Mellor at the back of that group, and just working their way back down towards our commentary position. Casey O'Gorman looking over his shoulder as he comes onto the start-finish straight once again. Ross Maguire is right up behind him. Johnny Garnes over 2 seconds in arrears. Evan Belford almost a second further back. And then it's that group of Belford, Mellor, O'Shea and Dylan Mellor who sets a new personal best on that last lap to close in further ground, and actually is right on the tail now of Eddie O'Shea, trying to look for a way. O'Shea is smart, takes the inside route coming off that infield section, coming off the 180 and holding on to 6th position, but he's certainly compromising his own speed on the apex of the turn, and Dylan Mellor is right on his tail. Eddie O'Shea is in amongst that group with Owen Mellor, and well, that it is becoming a trio now because Evan Belford is dropping them and starting to gain ground on Johnny Garnes. The top two are Casey O'Gorman, who's looking over his shoulder once again to Ross Maguire in second place. Then it's Johnny Garnes only narrowly leading Evan Belford. That's where the race is at the moment. Evan Belford with a new personal best on that last lap. Eddie O'Shea was indeed passed later on in the lap by Dylan Mellor. I did say early on that it looked as though Mellor had the pace advantage, and he has managed to take advantage of it by getting the better of Eddie O'Shea. So it's O'Shea at the back of the group now. Evan Belford, who tried to make a bit of a break onto the tail of Johnny Garnes. So it's Garnes and Belford running wide there. It's Owen Mellor, and that's going to be another position change. Dylan Mellor is going to make another position, having already passed Eddie O'Shea. Dylan now gets the better of Owen, trying to pick the brothers apart. It's going to be a challenge as they come back towards us. But it looks to me as though Owen just running wide there, coming through the left-hander and up Oak Tree, and that has cost him a position. We'll see if he can regain that as this race goes on. Garnes still ahead of Belford in third and fourth positions, and then Dylan Mellor ahead of Owen Mellor now, as I said, after that overtaking manoeuvre. Owen just running a little bit wide through the left-hander, leaving enough room there for Dylan to come through, and straight through Dylan went on the number 31 bike, up ahead of Owen Mellor now, who sits in sixth position. So it's Dylan Mellor who's provided a lot of the entertainment in this first race in the AC40 Pro category by getting the better of Owen up the inside, having already passed Eddie O'Shea. They are as close as they've ever been for the top two positions, and you saw Ross Maguire just thinking about a lunge down the inside of Casey O'Gorman as they went through the left-right, the chicane that leads back on to one of the two longer straights on the circuit. Looking over his shoulder, still Casey O'Gorman, who had set a new personal best last lap around. He was still slightly slower than Ross Maguire, and Maguire has made up further ground this lap around, but there isn't much more ground to find before Maguire needs to make the move. He is right on the tail of Casey O'Gorman. O'Gorman held back slightly by a back marker. He cuts through up the inside. Maguire has to go all the way around the outside, and that gives O'Gorman a little bit of breathing room, but he hasn't got much of it. And there's also a race going on further down the order where Garnes, Belford and Mellor are starting to make the break. Mellor with a new personal best on that last lap, gaining in ground, gaining in about half a second on Evan Belford. Eddie O'Shea has got the better of Owen Mellor, who's dropped down the field continues. He's now down in seventh position, less than a tenth of a second separated them last lap around. So still close racing right through the field, but the race for top spot is narrowing all the time. That last lap was a bit of a breathing room for Casey O'Gorman, who's been under severe pressure from Ross Maguire. Maguire was held back by a back marker, and it only takes O'Gorman to catch a lap traffic at the wrong moments, and he is going to be in real trouble. Evan Belford setting a new personal best on that lap number 8. He's now 0.2 of a second away from Johnny Garnes, trying to find a way through. And then that separate race with Eddie O'Shea only narrowly leading Owen Mellor. Eddie O'Shea having got the better of Mellor, and they're almost alongside coming up the hill. But O'Shea just able to break slightly clear, and that leaves him still ahead of Owen Mellor behind him. Evan Belford trying to cut his way through. Johnny Garnes is the rider to lose out, and we've got a fall as it looks to me as though Evan Belford has gone down there, coming on towards the Simpson Straight. They were three abreast coming off through the left and right handers, and Evan Belford, who was doing such a beautiful job to make up ground, has gone down and brought us out a red flag situation after that fall for Evan Belford. As I said, the three of them just getting caught up there, coming through the chicane. O'Gorman, Maguire and Garnes, the top three finishers in race 1 in the AC40 Pro.